Okay, so this is just a quick video about how to paraphrase in IELTS Task 2. This is just a quick trick, really, that is just going to give you a very quick way to begin to change the grammar of that part of the question that you are paraphrasing. So, just to be clear, when you write your Task 2 essays, usually the introduction has two or three parts. It will have a paraphrase. Then it will have, after a paraphrase, it's going to have a statement of your opinion, if necessary, opinion, right? So paraphrase and statement of opinion, only on opinion questions. The third part of the essay is what some people call the thesis statement. But for me, that just means tell them what you will do. Okay, so these are the three parts of introduction. But I'm not teaching that today. I just want to focus on how you can paraphrase quickly. Because obviously you have about 40 minutes to write this essay and about 20 minutes to write task 1. You don't want to spend too long paraphrasing the question. So I think one of the #1 mistakes that people make is they take the part of the question that they want to paraphrase. Let's take, for example, this sentence here. Some people believe that it is good to share as much information as possible in scientific research, business, and the academic world. Okay, so they take that sentence and they think, right, I've got to paraphrase this. I know what I'll do. I'll try and think of a synonym for every single word. I'll try and think of a synonym for academic, and I'll try and think of a synonym for business and research and scientific as well. I'll try and think of a synonym for information. I'll try and think of a synonym for share, right? And what happens is they don't use synonyms accurately. And when you get a synonym wrong, it's as bad. It can read as badly as a really bad grammar error. Right? So a person can stop reading your sentence and think, I don't know what that person is saying if you get the wrong synonyms. So what I always say is, don't do too many synonyms, right? You can use we want to aim for 1 or 2 synonyms. Don't overcomplicate, right? So that's the first piece of advice with your paraphrasing. Aim for 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you've got some easy things in your mind, right? So 1, let's say 2 or 3. Okay, so aim for 2 or 3 synonyms. But obviously you still have to paraphrase, you have to do something. So what are you going to do if you're not going to use as many synonyms, right? How can I paraphrase without using lots of synonyms? So that is my question. And the answer is simple. You have to change the grammar. Probably many of you are already thinking about this already. You've got to change the grammatical structure of the sentence. So in this short class, I just want to give you a quick way to do it. Really, really simple. All right, but many people forget about this technique. And the idea is that if you use this technique and if you use 2 or 3 synonyms, you can do your paraphrase quite quickly and just move on to the rest of the essay, because really, ultimately, you're not going to get all of your marks in your paraphrase. There's not going to be a lot of task achievement, for example, in the paraphrase, unless you make a mistake. And there's not going to be a lot of cohesion in your paraphrase. Those things are all coming later on in the essay. So therefore, make sure you devote your time to those things and make sure you don't waste time on your paraphrase. So 2 or 3 synonyms and change the grammar. So how can I change the grammar? That's the question. How can I change the grammar quickly? Well, basically, the best way to do this is this. Look for the subject and the verb in the first sentence, right? So if we take some people believe that it is good to share as much information as possible in scientific research, business, and the academic world, we take that sentence. we need to ask ourselves, what is the subject of this sentence? Can anyone tell me what is the subject of this sentence? Is anyone watching this right now? Let's have a look. Just looking at my chat. Okay, well, the subject of this sentence is people. Okay, and the verb is believe. So you need to locate the subject and the verb of your sentence and change it, right? I'll just get this the other way around. Change it to, just change the structure of this. Let me just quickly highlight this. So if we identify this here, and we've got this here, all you need to do is change it to a slightly different structure. So some of you might be asking, well, what other way is there to do a sentence except for subject and verb, a descriptive sentence? Well, although this is also subject and verb, it's not the usual way we would do subject and verb, and it's actually usually taught differently in schools because it's so different. And the answer is use there is or there are. Okay, now there, I suppose, is the subject of the sentence, and is the verb, but they're very different, really, because, well, if you just think about the meaning of there for a few seconds, you'll see that that's obviously a slightly different way to construct a sentence. It's not, although it's a subject, it's not the same as talking about people in the first thing. And obviously you're using be as your verb, which is going to change things a lot in terms of the grammar. So replace the subject and the verb of the sentence with there is, there are, then add what was previously the subject. So here we've got people, right? People. Then add a relative clause. So instead of saying some people believe that it's good to share as much information as possible in scientific research, you're going to say there are people who believe that. And obviously this that here is the same as the original. That's a relative clause as well. But now we're just copying the original sentence. But this bit here, this is different. This is new. Okay? And that's it. You want 2 or 3 synonyms, and you want to change the subject-verb structure of the sentence to this there is, there are structure, which is quite different. So let me give you another example, all right? Here we've got another question. Some people think that developed countries have a higher responsibility to combat climate change than developing countries. Okay? Again, we know that the subject is here, and we know that the verb is here. So how do we begin our paraphrase? Anyone who's watching, how would you begin the paraphrase now? Well, obviously, the answer is going to be, that's right, there is, I'm just giving you a bit of thinking time, there is, or there are, in this case there are, right? There are people who think that. So we're using there are here because it's plural. Oops. We're using people because that was the subject of the original sentence, and then we're going into a relative clause here. So we've changed the grammar of the sentence such that we don't have to place all the stress and the burden on thinking of synonyms. We're just going to change the grammar and think of 2 or 3 synonyms. Here's another example. Nowadays, many countries have very cosmopolitan cities with people from all over the world. How do we paraphrase this? Well, let's do a substitution for nowadays. So we say these days, comma, there, what do we need? Is or are? It's obviously is, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. There are many countries. And now because we're bringing in a relative clause, we're not going to say that because countries are made of people. Well, no, we could say that actually. There are many countries that have very cosmopolitan cities. Okay, let's keep it simple. So, dead simple technique. Technique one, this is so just to summarize this, you're normally going to get a subject verb structure in your question. Okay, so it might say, so here's the subject, here's the verb. I'll just say type. I'll just call this type 1. So you might get these days, many people think. Okay, these days many people think. And what we want to do is change this to a type 2 sentence, what I'm calling a type 2 sentence, meaning there is, there are. We want there, we want is or are, we want relative pronoun here, and then we want the rest of the sentence here. So in this case, people think becomes there are. Oops. So I need to just change this slightly. Here we put in the subject of the sentence, so people. Then we put in the relative pronoun here, who. So there are people who think that, blah, 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 right? So I'll just put relative pronoun plus sentence. Plus, I'll just put plus extra. And that's it. It's dead simple. I'm going to clean this document up and I'll be posting it on the site now. But just to recap, don't spend too long thinking of synonyms when you're paraphrasing in task 2, when you're paraphrasing your question. Instead, think of only 2 or 3 synonyms quickly. Take the easy ones and change the structure of the sentence. Don't start with the subject here, people, and then the verb believe. Instead, use a there is, there are structure, plus people, in this case, plus a relative clause. So some people believe that becomes there are people who believe that. There's some more examples here. There's examples here, and here's a little diagram, which I'll tidy up a little bit. I'm just aware that I've been doing this for a while now. Hope it was useful, everyone. Remember, if you're interested in having English classes, please feel free to come to ttmenglish.com. You can message us there. We're happy to speak to you on Skype, or we have a little chat box. Feel free to message any questions you like. There's also videos of what we do, and you can look through the packages. Our first package starts at $49.99, and it's excellent value for money. You get 13 classes, 1-hour classes a week, one of which includes a grammar class like this every day. All right, guys, thanks very much. Take care. I hope it was useful.